When Clinton Terrell woke up on the morning of August 3rd, 2013, he had no idea how drastically his life would change. We are honored to introduce you to this very special member of Team Blue. Clinton grew up in the Charleston area and graduated from Fort Dorchester High School in 2000. He started his career with South Carolina Federal Credit Union in 2003. It didn't take long for Clinton to identify a career path in leadership. Within 6 months, he became a certified teller and was promoted to head teller shortly thereafter.
Clinton and I worked together at the James Island Financial Center. He was my supervisor, my head teller. He was a great mentor to me when we were in the financial center together and provided a lot of resources and additional help as I was moving along in my career here at the credit union.
So I actually met Clinton when I started working at Goose Creek as a BSR, and we just really clicked. We literally had fun all the time. Became best friends, inside work, outside work. He's part of my family. We're just close.
In 2011, Clinton decided that he would make a significant life change.
I was working at the Goose Creek branch and I could barely walk from my car to the branch without being out of breath. And so I decided that I needed to do something about that. And I went down to MUSC to the weight loss clinic, and I got on a scale for the first time in what seemed like forever. And at that time, I weighed close to 500 pounds. And so with that, I joined the program, and by the end of my 30-week process, I had lost 280 pounds.
He actually started the weight loss the same day my daughter was born. So on my daughter's first birthday, we have his first birthday picture as well. We did the Cooper River Bridge run, and his number was half because he was half his body weight.
As a result of his weight loss, Clinton found himself doing lots of things he never thought he would do. In 2012, a friend invited him over to learn how to ride a motorcycle.
And I thought, this is a great idea, something I never ever thought I would be able to do before. After about a year of learning, we decided I was going to buy my own bike. Then one morning, it was August the 3rd, I was going to take my bike to the shop. A woman was going through the stoplight, and she stopped in front of me, and I tried to go around her. And when I went out around her, the tires caught traction with gravel on the road and threw me into the side of her car. And when I woke up at MUSC, I knew something was wrong instantly. I ended up having a contusion on my spine at C4, C5, which left me paralyzed from the chest down. And that's how I ended up in my current situation in this chair.
Obviously, everyone was shocked and terribly upset when we heard of Clinton's accident. We weren't really able to go to the worst scenario when we heard about that. He had been in an accident. He was in trauma for spinal injury. His back had not been broken, is what we were told. So we were all hoping, thinking, maybe not even going to the worst place possible, that it was a matter of treatment and rest and therapy. And when we had come to find out that it seemed to be a much more severe situation, more longer lasting, then we had to think about how do we support Clinton.
My first husband was killed in a motorcycle accident, so going to see Clinton in the hospital was a very difficult experience for me and for Clinton. He knew my history. We had bonded over that history, and he knew that his accident would be something difficult for me to handle, and it was a difficult experience seeing him in the hospital.
The first couple weeks were rough, I will say that, and they're going to be because you don't know what's going on. Of course, he's medicated and he doesn't understand, and my husband and I were down there. Either one of us were down there almost every single day. My kids went down to see him. My parents went down to see him. This was Clinton. My kids call him Uncle C. I mean, this is my best friend for how many years, is now in the ICU at MUSC and is not able to move anything. And it was very hard. I took a week off of work. I mean, it was very hard.
Going through the process of recovery after the accident, it definitely wasn't easy. There was a lot of work that went into it with a lot of people. There was a lot of ups. There was a lot of downs for me. It was a very, very, very low point in my life.
And so he was transferred to the Shepherd Center, one of the best areas in the nation, but definitely in our region for these kinds of traumatic injuries. And I felt, regardless of the distance, I felt that Clinton needed to have support. I knew he was getting support from his colleagues, but I felt the need for that myself. And so I told my family, I said, I'm going to go this weekend down and visit my friend in Atlanta. Actually, we all piled in the car and we did a road trip down to visit Clinton. And didn't know what to expect, but we were very impressed with his position. He was very upbeat.
He reassured me that, I was the most important and that it was important to take care of myself, and we actually had a really good visit. And then I had friends from other departments, a friend of mine that works in the mortgage department, and some people from the branches and stuff like that came up to see me. They always brought things from the credit union, a banner, and that everybody had signed, the get well things, the cards. My good friend Lindsay actually came up and saw me just to go to a movie. It was my first outing from the hospital where they actually let me go out into the community to do something, and they took us out in a bus to go see a movie. And I called her and I said, we're going to a movie. Can you come go with me? Because we could bring somebody with us. And so she drove to Atlanta just to come see a movie and then turned around and drove home.
Clinton spent over 2 months at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta and came home to Charleston in November of 2013. Soon after, he decided it was time to get back to the credit union.
I would say from the minute that my mind was clear and I was able to think clearly about things again, I was always driven that I wanted to get back to myself, my life, and part of my life was the credit union and my job. I picked up my phone and I texted Scott. I think it was at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and I said, I hope I'm not bothering you, but I have a question. I need to talk to you. Can I call you tomorrow? And he said, sure. So I called him the next day and said, what do I need to be able to tell these people I need to work on so that I can get myself back to where I can do something? And he said, well, let's set up a meeting with Brad.
Clinton had a lot of support through his various doctors. So I got his doctor to come down here, and I met with his different doctors that he had at the time and tried to understand what his requirements were. And I learned a lot of things about how a handicapped person interacts in the workforce.
So we worked with the IT department to identify a role that was meaningful, that he could do with limited mobility, that would serve the members in a different capacity by aggregating work away from other IT folks to perform important roles, bringing value to that position and freeing them up to continue working in other roles. We identified a role for him working in the password reset area, and given the number of systems that we have, there were plenty of opportunities for that to be done every day.
So I had to design a desk that would accommodate his ability to roll up, roll out without a lot of adjustment, etc. So we went to the cubicle vendor, and they have a height adjustable desk, which is great. So we bought a height adjustable desk, put it in the cubicle, and that worked, but when they delivered it, the desk was too small for all the equipment that we have that we operate on a desktop. So what I did is I went and robbed some parts out of some other cubicles, and I got a couple pieces of aluminum angle iron, and I got under the desk, and I essentially built the wing on the desk that it needed, but tied it into the height adjustable system so it all would raise and lower. And that gives him the ability to be able to adjust the desk to the correct height so his wheelchair can get in there enough so he can use his mouse stick to interact with the keyboard.
Aside from the IT department, there were many other areas at the credit union that played a part in Clinton's return to work. The facilities department adjusted door frames and added extra handicapped parking spaces, and our HR department played an instrumental role in helping Clinton with his benefits.
From HR, we just really wanted to make sure that Clinton was taken care of. I heard recently that people don't have disabilities, they just have different abilities, and this is exactly where Clinton is, and so it's just really important from to us from an HR standpoint that he is part of this family like anybody else would be.
Clinton is now back to work full-time at South Carolina Federal, and we couldn't be more excited.
So my normal, or my new normal as I call it, is it took a lot of getting used to, but I have a lot of help through my day to do basic things. I get up in the morning and I get dressed and ready with the assistance of my mom. And then once I'm in my chair, I'm off to do my thing. I work from about 8 to 6, and when I stop for lunch, my mom helps me eat.
Clinton's mom was absolutely instrumental in his progress and his journey back to the credit union. I would even consider her like one of his lifelines. She's a wonderful mom.
So I kind of feel like Clinton is coming back. Kind of Clinton's spirit is back because he's working again. He's doing what he loves to do. And now that he's back at work, I see his spirit lifted again. It's really great to see Clinton coming back.
It makes me happy. It makes me happy to see him engaged. He's always got a smile on his face. He is a very valuable part of that operation, and it truly makes me happy to see him back.
Now that he's on campus, we can have lunch together if we wanted to. I can pop over there and say hello. It's definitely increased his morale. He is definitely a happier, more active person now that he's back here, and the other employees feed off of his energy.
Since he came into IT with no knowledge, he's kind of had to go kind of ground up with education. And he's taken some of that on his own. He started taking classes at Trident Tech about IT. Clinton's always worried about what's next, what can I do next, etc. And the reality is that, with IT, not everybody needs to lift a printer or rack a server, so you don't need that physical dexterity. You just need to interact with a computer. So he's interested in it, he's educating himself, so he may grow past what he's doing now.
When Clinton was going through the process and he told me how important it was to work here, he said, I have to have a blue sweater, I have to have purpose. This is my family, I have to come back here. And I remember thinking like, wow. I was just touched that he would want to come back here and work, so bad. But really, we are better because he's here. We are a better organization because he's here.
I found the way that we rallied around Clinton inspiring beyond my best expectations. He was and is a personality that commanded that attention. You wanted to be there for him, and his attitude was perpetuating. You didn't feel like you were there to lift him up. You were there to partake in his positive energy.
It gives you a great perspective on life when you've been through something that is such a struggle. He's proving to himself and all the other employees that there's nothing that you can't do if you set your mind to it. So he's a great success story. His life has been, a great inspiration to a lot of employees here at the credit union.
He is probably one of the strongest people I've ever met. From the weight loss that he did, from the accident, all of this. He's such a strong person, and I just love him so much.
When you start to do something and you feel like you're contributing and you're actually making a difference and you have something that you can do, it helped me as far as the mental aspect. It cheered me up and brought me out of a depression, and it gave me some worth again, and it just, brought Clinton back, I would say. The future is just wide open for me. I'm back to that point where I know that if I put my mind to where I want to go, then I'm going to get there.